What it do, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Wind Down, your favorite chat show hosted by yours truly, Jer Bear, aka Jeremiah Neal, aka the Pop Culture Maven, aka a student at Crenshaw Heights, y'all. Y'all, I've been trying my best to be cheerful the last couple of days, but I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. This Hayden Panettiere news has been eating your girl. I cannot believe we just lost this icon, y'all. I did a TikTok about this, but it was like, damn, like I was waiting for her comeback moment. I feel like all the girlies, they kind of have faced the backlash, the fears, the consequences of everything that comes of this industry. And then they usually get this like one more swing around where they get booked and the fans just remind them just how much they were loved and revered, especially when it comes to pop culture and nostalgia. And I know my girl was doing some podcasts and such over the last year, but she definitely deserved more before this untimely passing, y'all. So everybody send y'all highest regards to her daughter, Kaya. And make sure to just go pop on some Bring It On or some Remember the Titans or a Bug's Life, anything, girl. Heroes, Nashville. My girl was booked and busy for 20 plus years. I love to see it. One thing that this situation has taught me though, girl, is that life is too short. So we definitely got to go after what we want, honey. That whole cliche phrase, tomorrow is not promised, is starting to become more prevalent day after day. I'm starting to see like, oh, you're not as untouchable as you think. The day doesn't just repeat as you think, you know what I mean? Sometimes big changes can come our way, y'all. So let's keep our heads high and let's just keep on being a light the same way that Hayden was to us, you know? Now, on a positive note though, y'all, did y'all see all that black girl magic that was happening at the D23 Princess concert? Girl, we had Haley Bailey, Brandy, and Anika all on one stage, girl. Like, that's something that we was just talking about the damn Disney adults last episode. I would ever claim myself as one of them people, but I would go pushing and shoving for a moment like that. Okay, come on, Kelly Clarkson. A moment like that, some people wait a lifetime. Girl, for real though, could you imagine seeing that? And the joy on their faces, like, this is what it's all about. I hope one day that I'm inspiring and I'm empowering people to follow their dreams and chase all their ambitions the same way that they are being on that stage. It was just so awesome to witness. I love stuff like that. That's the kind of yes man moment that we need for the culture all the time. So I want all that energy for the rest of the year and going into 2027. How the hell we almost in 2027? We gotta pause. We gotta slow down. Like Van Jess, honey, because the time is going by way too fast. Madonna talking about time goes by so slowly. No, girl, you was wrong, honey. You was lying to us, girl. We need to slow it down more. So before we kick things off, y'all, I just want to let it be known that although we are about to do a comparison analysis between two popular girl groups right now, okay, this episode is not me comparing women. I am not pitting women against each other, okay? In generalizations, in race, in talent. Between the 9 women that are part of these two groups, I think they are probably some of the most talented people that I've ever gotten to witness participate on a stage, a concert, a recording studio. I think there's a lot of great elements amongst the 9 of them. So don't even get it twisted. I don't want to hear no complaining and none of that in the comments. I got to be firm about this because people love to create these random narratives that folks like myself who do pop culture analysis and stuff like that are women haters, or they always put this kind of energy towards the women and not the men. This is not where I'm coming from. I just want y'all to see this is very rare. I haven't felt this way since like Pussycat Dolls and Danny DK were out at the same time, but it's very rare for us to have like 2 really popular girl groups at the same time, releasing music at the same time and entertaining a similar sphere. And I would just love to look at the overall reception of both of these groups to the public eye and reflect ultimately over the commodification of the music market nowadays. You know, what is going right, what is going wrong, and low key, actually very high key, how can we get back to the glory days? I don't want anybody leaving this conversation thinking that I'm asking you to tear one group down in order to uplift the other. That is not the summation of this, because both groups have the talent and the space in this industry to succeed. Girl groups also already go through enough, and it's been historically shown that women in the entertainment industry have always been pitted against each other, and that is not what I want my body of work to ever reflect. A lot of the conversation, honestly, today is going to be pointed at us, and when I say us, I mean the consumers, you know, because monitoring and watching the public response of these two girl groups popping off at the same time has made me honestly question, what exactly are we rewarding in pop music right now? When I was a kid, I felt like it was so defined. I don't want to say what was necessarily cool and popular, because we had bands and acts that didn't necessarily have the best voices still be able to chart. So that's a very similar vibe of what we're experiencing in 2026. But it just seemed a little bit more defined on like what we were supposed to be supporting, on who made the mark. Nowadays, it seemed like a big old mumbo jumbo pot of gumbo, girl. And I'm just very confused. Like, is it the music? Is it the talent? Is it the identity that the artist is portraying? Because half the time, girl, it's not necessarily matching who they are as people. Is it the artist development or lack thereof? Or is it this weird path in pop culture history where we've actually reached a point where the conversation around the artist has become more valuable than the actual art itself, you know? But long story short, y'all, y'all. It's not FLO versus KATSEYE, okay? I just want to have a fun and honest conversation about the odd energy that we're observing right now in pop music. And y'all know y'all can count on me to keep it real about this particular topic. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's get it. I first want to start things off talking about the new releases from both of the girl groups. I'm looking at the numbers of both of the groups and I'm honestly proud of both. It's already hard enough to like catch people's attention via your first go around, but for you to be going for a sophomore or a third release and trying to shoot for the stars or sometimes even overshoot to prove a point of your, I guess, existence in the pop sphere, both groups definitely put a lot of strong energy into ensuring that people knew that they had new projects coming out. Now, whether or not something was messy or not, we're going to talk about that a little later. But nevertheless, FLO just released their new album, Therapy at the Club, last week, which I am obsessed with. I've done like probably 3 videos about this already, so y'all can tell I am definitely a FLO lifer, honey, okay? But when we talk about performance, the ladies have sold 10,000 copies and landed at 189 on the Billboard Top 200 for the album. My girls also landed top 5 in the UK as well, so we want to give them a round of applause. We got to give them shouts out, okay? This industry is not easy, and so for you to even be charting, honey, some people ain't even doing that. Signed, unsigned, independent. Now, when we come over to LA, well, I guess I can't say that because KATSEYE is technically a global girl group, even though they done lost the European portion. I'm trying my best to be neutral, y'all. I don't want this to turn into a Missy Dragon episode. But our girls KATSEYE also just released their new EP. Now, you notice the difference, not album. This is their 3rd EP, and it's called Wild, featuring 5 out of the 6 members because, as a reminder, Manon was put on hiatus in February right after their Grammys performance. And with the early projections just named, the girls had the potential to debut at #1 on the charts with approximately 144,000 copies sold. This is insane because we haven't had, first of all, girl groups chart #1. It has to be definitely Danny Came. It must be something in the August era because, you know, my girl DK back in 2006 did this, you know what I mean? So we talking about 20 years ago are like the last times we were seeing stuff like this. So the girl group stand in me wants to be so excited because I'm like, okay, that is a legacy that we are continuing on the numbers side of things. That is great. I'm just not seeing the parallel necessarily of the quality of music matching the sales that are being achieved. And this is no shade to the specific girls in KATSEYE because I know that these girls can sing and dance, girl. We all don't watch Dream Academy. We all don't watch the reality show on Netflix, honey. But y'all can't tell me that Hoochie Fruity and Pinky Up are just like the most revolutionary music songs that we've heard this year or this decade, you know? And then if we want to take it a step further, girl, in comparison to FLO, we're looking at these estimates. That's 10,000 copies versus 144,000 copies, y'all. That is not a small difference. That is an entirely different commercial universe. And seeing those numbers like side by side just stopped me in my tracks. Because I'm like, here we have 2 girl groups that both launched relatively in the same timeline, or at least they got like put on our spheres and the maps at the same time. But their paths are completely different. Their forks in the road are so different. So that brings me back to my question, y'all. Like, what is a modern music consumer actually rewarding? What are we checking off and saying, yes, you deserve this reward because of this? Remember, we control the market. So our attention, our dollars, is it truly going to the right place? I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. FLO's and KATSEYE's trajectories fascinate me so much. On one hand, I feel like FLO took a very traditional path of a girl group because both groups were manufactured at the end of the day. Now, FLO wasn't on a reality competition series, but they did like rotate girls in and out until they found the perfect chemistry. It wasn't like they all grew up together and were sisters since childhood. But even with that, I still find elements of the traditional lane of the girl groups, especially the R&B girl groups that I grew up on. And I love that FLO incorporated that in their journey. You know, the girls formed in 2019, but they officially launched on the scene in 2022. And what I love about them is that they really know how to show homage to all of those groups that came ahead of them, but they know how to swirl it up to like a modern vibe to carry the new torch of R&B, because that's what people have to realize about the now. That's what you're alchemizing, is a way to keep the topic of conversation current. But I feel like over the last 5 years, y'all, FLO has done an incredible job at just solidifying themselves in their signature sound of FLO. You know, they are just a great girl group, not even just a great British girl group or a great Black girl group or a great R&B girl group, just a naturally great group. You can really hear that in the new album, and I really encourage y'all to go listen to it. It's so good. They really have been developing, and their signature sauce has been brewing for show. And they also make it sound so easy. Some of their arrangements, I'm just like, what is going on? Like, how are y'all doing this live? We also love a belter. Come on, Georgia. Come on, Stella. Renee, hitting these high notes. Like, what's going on? But it's like their harmonies have become such an identity for the group, which is so great because I feel like that's a pillar that all girl groups should be standing on, you know? But that's so awesome. I love that they're able to showcase their abilities on their records, even if the records are pop pop leaning, like Leak It, they're always going to still have some type of sickening arrangement. They've continued developing their performances. I can notice I'm seeing the elevated budget, y'all. Like the dancing has gotten stronger, the stage presence has gotten stronger, and most importantly, there is an identifiable FLO sound. You may not know like every FLO song, but I do feel that by now, if people saw FLO's photos or they saw them in the blogs online or even on like interviews like Way Up with Angela Yee and stuff like that on YouTube, people be like, oh, those are my girls, or I like those girls, you know, which is so important because the consumers are the folks that they give the approval of what's cool. The folks in the boardroom are pitching to y'all to say, they try to convince y'all and say, yes, this is cool because we told you so. But us as consumers, y'all, we the ones that give that final check, you know. Georgia's boyfriend that's on their management team, y'all, it might not be that bad. Sometimes maybe the partners will go to the ends of the earth for you, honey, because I've definitely been seeing FLO up the ante on like their interviews and being featured guests on these shows. So our girls are fighting definitely for that attention. However, ultimately, I just do feel like it's being overlooked. And then we pivot over to KATSEYE, who has continuously been the topic of conversation in the sphere of pop for the last 2 years. Now, is that type of conversation always the best? Absolutely not. But what I can say is that their team understands how to work this machine, honey. Okay? Their team has access to pretty much all the connections that you need to be the face of anything. They're going to get every single makeup brand deal. They already had the Gap campaign. They book for all the tours each year. And it seems like when you have access and all of those connections, you can just take all the green lights and fly your way to the top. Or not even that, girl. You skipping through the red lights to get to your destination even quicker. What KATSEYE has been able to achieve without no debut album in 2 years, performing at the Grammys, girl, is unfathomable for most people's career. Now, don't get me wrong. We've already discussed the members of KATSEYE are very beautiful and diverse girls. And one thing our girls are going to do is give us a performance. Now, sometimes I do feel that it leans a little bit more cheerleading, dance troupe-esque, but that's the same energy that we count on when we're going to a football game or a sports game, etc. So there's definitely a need for that type of frequency in entertainment. And I'm not necessarily mad at it. I just want it to formulate into what it's going to be. I'm tired of the experimentation this far into the game. Like there still hasn't been a hit record from KATSEYE, in my opinion. I feel like Gabriella was kind of in the direction of merging viral social media songs with traditional pop records. They've been trying to do that with Animal, which was written by Ed Sheeran on the newest release, Wild. And they've definitely had like very viral songs amongst the Gen Z market, but it gives me Ice Spice. Very in the moment, very in the now, but we're going to forget about this in 5 to 10 years, you know? And that is my exact frustration, especially with girl groups. It's not very often that we see this, a girl group dominating and being at the top. I feel like out of all the contenders that are in the entertainment industry, girl groups get looked at the least. The girl groups and the boy bands get kind of like pushed over, and then you have the anomalies like the One Directions or the Spice Girls or the Destiny's Childs, and people just think, oh, they're always so successful. No, these are like 1 in a million opportunities, you know? So my frustration lies in the fact that after all these like attention-seeking stunts, after all the lineup changes, after all these award show performances, without, like I said, a debut record, we still don't know what the KATSEYE sound is. What is KATSEYE's musical identity? What is their sonic through line? Because if we talk about from Sis to Beautiful Chaos to now Wild, there is no cohesiveness, y'all. Not even in the members. The wardrobe, the aesthetic, everything has changed, the hairstyles and stuff like that. And I get you want to have something new and fresh for each rollout campaign or whatever. But at the same time, there has to be some type of anchor variable that supporters can hang on to if we want to exist in the long term. Especially if you only doing 5, 6 song EPs, honey. They should be trilogies. That's why I always love me a Tinashe. She always wants to have some type of storyboard where each project intertwines itself with the previous project or a future project, almost like Star Wars. But you see what I mean? They got all this big budget, this big team or whatever. Why can't they think that far? And it's because they have become the hit clips of the 2020s. Now, they've had moments to create signature sauce. I'm not going to front. When they worked with Ryan Tedder for debut, I thought that's the direction that they were going to choose. It kind of gave kids pop. It kind of gave very predictable records, but at least those songs could be played on radio. At least they had like radio friendly vibes on the first EP. But ever since they switched over to this like alt hyper pop experimental vibe, it's kind of been a little bit lackluster. It's giving very much like AI generated songs. And it was like, let's have like a Brazilian funk song. Let's have hyper pop song. Let's have a melodic song. And we just gonna go up to the jukebox. We gonna pick a genre. We gonna write some basic lyrics that's reminiscent of Dr. Seuss. We gonna make up a wild dance routine that's gonna create shock value. And we gonna release it as a single. And then we gonna inflate the numbers and add a bunch of likes and views and tell the world that this is music and this is art and this is success. And for me, I just think that with music, it should involve just a little bit more than that. There are people that risk their whole lives, including myself. I moved to LA with nothing just for the love to work in this industry. And the fact that the people at the top are treating KATSEYE Catseye's music as if it is a McDonald's assembly line with the automated ketchup and the hamburger patty and the slice of cheese and just going down the conveyor belt. It's losing its luster for me day by day, if I'm gonna keep it honest, okay? Almost to the point where I look at FLO as a group, girl, and then I look at KATSEYE as more of like a brand. And that's super crazy given that, again, they came out around the same time, you know? But it's true, if you think about everything that KATSEYE has done for the last couple of years, so much of it has been definitely unavoidable. I gotta shout my girls out. They've been everywhere, okay? But it's been everything but the music that has been making them be everywhere. The documentary, the parasocial vibes online, the fandom, talking about them in their every step on social media, on all platforms, okay? YouTube, Weverse, TikTok, the live streams, y'all, personalities of the girls. Well, Mano's personality, if we want to keep it real, girl. And then again, leaning into the not so good stuff, the icky stuff, in my opinion, like a lot of the discourses and the hiatuses, the KKK hoodie meme from Laura, the lineup conversations, Mano's controversies, the rotating lineup, girl. All these attributes I'm naming, y'all, I'm not just saying it just to say it. I'm showing y'all that these are literally the things that is keeping this brand afloat. But you notice how none of it has to do with music. So what I'm trying to compute is I just don't understand how this is translating into a model of sales first, music quality second. If we're looking into long-term or future, you know what I mean? It need to be the other way around. Now, y'all know I want to work in the industry. It's definitely a goal of mine to be an A&R. So this is where I'm trying to be fluid with my thought process, because a part of me is like, I got to catch up with modern times, honey. We are watching a big an enormous cultural shift of consumption and how it equates into 144,000 copies sold in a week for a particular musical brand. This is insane. This is the new NSYNC selling 1.2 billion copies in its first week, okay? This has to be studied because not a lot of artists, especially the veterans, not a lot of them are pulling those type of numbers. A lot of people are not making it into the 100Ks. The average right now I hear is around like 50K, 60K, which is still excellent. You got to think about that. 50,000 people nowadays in an age where everything has everybody so distracted, girl. That's still amazing. But these girls are clearly doing something, okay, to get that. I just want to find the hybrid or at least steer us back on course or get the balloon, the music balloon. It's balloons filling the room and each balloon represent a point of focus. I think that the musical balloon should definitely be one of the bigger balloons in the room. Am I lying? Because look at FLO. They over here delivering vocals, harmonies, identity. Their performances are getting stronger and stronger every single time I see them, especially on these big award shows. Like our girls are giving live band. They're giving cohesive bodies of work, okay? Just to barely make it onto the leaderboard. I know everybody should be saying, yay, they should be happy to be there. But I'm like, no, they need to be higher. And we need to be giving them their flowers now. We need to be paying attention to that good and recognizing the real while it's here, girl, not too late. And people shouldn't have to do a bunch of gimmicks in order for quality to perform. Again, this isn't me saying one group deserves more success over the other group, because I do feel like it would be so great. I would love to see a day where it was FLO and KATSEYE sitting at number 1 and number 2 on the charts. I think it's up to us as consumers to open up our minds to begin to start valuing proper art like we used to in the past. We have got to start asking why this current ecosystem rewards these two lanes so differently. You know what I mean? Now, I do got to take into consideration, FLO has a couple of different variables, you know, than KATSEYE. Like FLO is leaning more into R&B. I get that that's not as a popular genre as mainstream music labels like to label pop, even though I do feel like the majority of acts now have stolen a bunch of R&B elements and they're pushing that as pop music, just not with R&B faces, if we want to keep it real. I also know that FLO is British too, so crossing over the pond can sometimes be harder than establishing an American artist. So I get these variables, but y'all can't tell me, y'all listening to everything that I just laid out, y'all can't tell me that these two paths are not crazy extremes from each other. When it comes to KATSEYE, I don't really think it's the girls that are the problem. I think all girl groups have fights behind the scenes. They be having arguments. Not to say that this is like a part of girlhood, but I just think that there are some things that are inevitable when you put a bunch of girls together. They're not experiencing necessarily anything new that we haven't heard from certain girl groups. But this is one of the rare times where I'm seeing that a label, instead of like changing the view of the public via PR to persuade the public to like the direction of the group more, they are actually utilizing the negativity that the girl group is experiencing to market the group. This is so strange to me. And we're starting to see it literally work. It's converting to sales. This is almost like anti-human in a way. How can this be the new normal? I think it's like an industry and consumer problem. Like in this day and age, y'all, we got to understand the current attention economy very well nowadays in order to succeed. We're living in an era where artists aren't necessarily competing only through the music anymore. Like I just listed all those other elements that KATSEYE be bringing to the game. Every social media platform nowadays is like a leaderboard, and these artists are competing for your attention. Now that curation is out the window. We ain't got no 106 in parts, no TRLs, girl. That has now turned into TikTok, Instagram, and shoot, wars with the fandoms online, okay? Stan culture in general. Oh, so toxic at times. To me, although these attributes are so important, they are secondary. Music always got to be one. It got to be primary, and it has to be quality. That has to supersede everything before you start being problematic and grabby with your brand. But now it just seems, let's drop these polarizing bombs everywhere. Who can sell bold aesthetics the best? Let's shave our eyebrows or dye them blonde. Who can create the most discourse on the internet? Like, that is the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching that grants you the golden ticket to Hollywood. And I'm like, what? Is this not trivial? Not only for the artist that hasn't endured this weird shit, but as a consumer, I guess maybe as the target audience that I'm talking to is like my age demographic, like the millennials. Like, this don't make y'all feel uncomfortable. It's changing our whole chemical element of how we digest or consume. Hell, it's like you don't even need no hit record no more to be a hit artist. KATSEYE generates conversation incredibly well, but I also start getting nervous because it's like, at what expense? We've already had 4 out of 6 members take some sort of hiatus in the last 2 years. Like, that's not normal, honey. So you are essentially draining these girls' spirits while simultaneously not giving them no shot at expressing their true vocal talent to its truest potential. And again, when we talk about having a group identity, it would be so dope if we could hear that be their greatest asset. I would love for KATSEYE to be known for making bops the same way that we appreciate the bops from Fifth Harmony. Even their unreleased music, we still listen to and love and still are streaming 12, 15 years later, you know? Switching back over to FLO, I need my girls to win badly, okay? They represent all the categories that I've been previously naming in the best of best ways. And I truly know, not think, I know that they understand their own musical identity and how harmonies are so necessary for longevity in this industry. I'm not preaching that every single consumer, every single girl group lover has to be obligated to like FLO. I understand that taste is subjective, but FLO represents something that I don't want to disappear from mainstream music. Development, honey. Watching an artist become better. Watching 3 voices learn how to come and work together. Watching students become performers, become more confident with how they emote on stage. Watching their choreography improve. Watching their sound become even more specific. And if you think about it, y'all, this is what made all of y'all favorite girl groups so exciting growing up, okay? Destiny's Child developed before our very eyes. That's why we fell in love with them, because we got to watch that journey happen. TLC developed. In Vogue, SWV, the Spice Girls had unmistakable identity. That was so important for their success. The Pussycat Dolls. Hello, Danity Kane gave us all-American girlhood. Even when every single song wasn't perfect from all the girl groups that I just named, you knew whose records you were listening to, okay? And that matters to me. Pop music isn't only supposed to generate just little moments. It's supposed to generate catalogs, okay? Big, huge bodies of work that last a long time. Not trend-based music, y'all. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was a bit worried with FLO with this because I saw them trying to hop on the bandwagon of trying to like make this like American urban music on the first album when they chose Glorilla to be the feature on the song In My Bag, which kind of gives me star. I know why they chose this direction, because you want to amplify and augment your consumer listening base. You want to get more American streamers to convert those listeners to ticket sales. Like, I get that concept. I think the song is good. I just don't think it should have been chosen as a single, nor does it show their makings as a group, you know? Sometimes playing the game to try to get that hit single, I get it. But I personally feel that being patient and letting the true art sizzle to the top in the forefront makes a better and everlasting impression, because society at that point, if anything, is going to make it a wave. That's when they truly get hooked. It's not just no little moment in time, you know? This is why we are still listening and falling in love with artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. This is why these babies be crying when they hear Michael Jackson. They weren't even around when he was at his peak, you know? I think all these famous artists from the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, they all need to go on like a artist tour where they give empowerment coaching to the next generation of singers and dancers and stuff like that, to explain to them how all the albums, the vocals, the performances, the music videos, the choreography, recording all different types, exploring your sound, creating just your vibe, are all spectacles that support music, but the music has to come first, okay? Because the entertainment industry, I feel like, is one of the only performance-based industries adopting this model where they're pushing out their main pillar out of first position. Like, when you look at sports, you would be crazy to onboard or pick an MVP or a team that did not perform well in the season, that didn't deliver all the elements that we need in basketball, right? Well, maybe, I don't know, because what I've been seeing from the WNBA tweets about how y'all treating Caitlin Clark girl versus the other players, I don't know. Maybe there are some parallels. But you know what I mean? I just feel like the standard is monitored a bit better in that sphere, or occupies more main space. Whereas in the music industry, it's almost as if you have a better chance at selling records by being an influencer more than an actual musician at this point. And that's just kind of weird. Now, I do got to do just like a little mini cuss out section for us as consumers, because again, we are a big portion as to why this whole system works the way it does, and it's upheld and maintained the way it is. It's so funny to observe, because most millennial music lovers, my Popholics, anybody just just familiar with the game. They always talk about, we want artistry, we want vocals, we want choreography, we want development. Where are the stars? Where are the music groups? Where are the performers? The stuff just don't hit like the 90s and the 2000s. But then you have a group like FLO that's giving you all of those things, and y'all pay it does. It's not just one way you can show up. Everybody was like, well, what do we do? Do we stream? Do we buy the album? Do we request a record? Do we share on social media? Like, stop acting brand new. Y'all know exactly how to hype up and promote something that you actually love. All of those elements add up to a tally, a vote, a push further into the ethos. That heart on a post on social media, that is considered a vote in my opinion. Streaming that song 5 times throughout the week, that helps. That's a vote. Buying the album, that's a couple votes. So do your due diligence as a popholic and help push these people that you enjoy forward. You know, those votes equate to cultural relevance, and then that cultural relevance is monitored in the boardrooms of the people overseeing your favorite acts. So then people sit there and act brand new and wonder why certain entities are investing their time, their money, and their energy looking at the numbers of certain outcomes when you can help push and navigate the outcomes in a better light for the people that you enjoy if you were a participant of the engagement that you know that they need to get the better checks. And this is exactly Normani's case. Y'all can't expect for her, even though she is slaying with her music listeners. I think she has like 13 million on Spotify, but y'all can't expect her to come out with $100 million budget if y'all are not engaging with the current content that is out there, you know? And this also goes for the people that are also in the industry, because there's a lot of gatekeepers that are deciding what gets amplified and what is not a priority for them. I'm talking about everybody in the ecosystem, the songwriters, the producers, the label heads, the publication folks, the playlist makers, radio programmers. Okay, but let me rewind a little bit. Let's get back to these songwriters. They be caring sometimes more about they bag than preserving the very art that even got them into the industry in the first place. Because you can't tell me the music that Mariah Carey made is the same type of music that KATSEYE is making when it comes to quality, honey, when it comes to lyricism, when it comes to intent. Yet, one of KATSEYE's biggest writers, Justin Tranter, is one of the main people echoing the sentiment of wanting to push boundaries with this new generation of pop and these new sounds, but again has also worked with creating amazing bodies of work with legends like Lady Gaga. So I know you understand traditionalism when it comes to pop music. It's okay to want to push boundaries and try something new while still understanding why we have to preserve legacy, honey. There's a way to bend the rules without just co-signing mess, especially when I know you have more depth than that. Like I got to see him open up for Gaga in like, what, 2010? So I know you got more substance than that, Justin. But again, these are the same gatekeepers that are controlling the current sounds and the direction of the music market, of sign artists at least. And then the story goes, it's a tale as old as time. People with tremendous influence over what eventually becomes mainstream culture see that as a reward, see that as success, and then they want to rinse and repeat and do that over and over again. They don't want to let nobody new into the writing room or the producing room, and then they just gonna milk that cow, honey, enthusiastically. And so what worries me is that you going into a writing session and y'all not trying to give y'all very best. You went to Berkeley for 4 years, not Justin, but just in general. Think about like true musicians. You went to Berkeley, study all this or whatever, and then you get into the writing room and they want you to write goo goo gaga, honey. Because y'all the playmakers, y'all the ones determining the sounds that we gonna be hearing on the radio for the next 2 to 3 years. And this is why the conversation is bigger than KATSEYE. It's bigger than FLO. The conversation is about this new formula of throwing darts on the wall and hoping something that sticks. And then we're about to go and rewrite history based off of something that is trend based, instead of using all these foundational elements and these pillars that the greats like the Dionne Warwicks and the Stevie Wonders and the Grace Jones and all these people have laid out for us. Like, why are we veering off course? This is why I be so passionate about this. This is why I feel like as a maven, it is my job, it is my duty to come on here and clock this particular topic. We need to be giving all these girl groups, not even just FLO and KATSEYE, Say Now, Girl Set, Frequency, Nona, like there's so much space for them to all succeed. We just have to value what they're trying to offer us and not think that everybody need to be a damn influencer at the end of the day in order to have a sellable music career, honey. Because let's just face it, the industry, the people in charge of running the industry, they follow in numbers, okay, and they're going to follow the money. And so I just want to be a reminder that it's time to also follow the talent. No more one-time flukes, okay? Quality needs advocacy nowadays. I still need the music to be a prioritization, honey. Quality music at that. And I still want powerhouse voices. I still want bangers like Break My Heart by Toni Braxton to be still coming out in the 2020s. Is that so hard to ask for? Like, especially when everybody is capable of this. It is being reflected on albums like Therapy at the Club. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all, you know? I still want hit records. I still want artists with identity. I still want artist development, okay? Y'all gonna see me get this job as an A&R. Honestly, especially when it comes to girl groups or groups in general, I just want groups that make me understand why these particular people needed to be put together. This collective is being presented to me for a very specific reason. The greatest eras of pop didn't just make us choose, y'all, between culture and craft. We had it all intertwined. They gave us all of it at the same time. So y'all, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. And maybe this is a question to myself, but instead of us asking like, why isn't FLO as big as KATSEYE? Maybe the better question is, are we still creating an industry where a group like FLO can become huge? Are we still prioritizing their very factors as the primary factors of what success looks like in the music industry? Because honey, if the answer is no, then we can't be spending the next 10 years complaining that nobody makes girl groups like they used to, okay? I don't want to hear these conversations all the time on TikTok and Twitter anymore, because part of that is our responsibility. You know what I mean? We can't be screaming from the rooftops that we want vocals and we want all of these factors and romanticizing nostalgia and all this music from the 80s and 90s and doing all these samples while not paying attention to the very best of the best in the current generation of artists that are sitting right in front of our eyes that we just be ignoring. You know what I mean? Because that just means that we didn't show up for these folks. It's not that they don't exist. It's that we're not showing up. And that's the bigger conversation at hand. So show up for your artists. I'm not saying be like the Peter Pan girl at Disney. She gonna be the new mascot of the Weekly Wind-Down. But honestly, y'all, show up for your artists. Show them love. We need to be bridging these gaps. These numbers shouldn't be as inconsistent as they are, given that a lot of these girl groups are receiving quality push, given that a lot of these girl groups are giving us quality.